Welcome back, everybody, to Ein Sof Learning. Let's continue in our series in Talmud Esher Sefirot. We're in Chelek Aleph, Perek Bet, Inyan Aleph, Ot Bet, and we're going to hopefully finish this Ot in this week's class, and also begin Ot Gimel, which is regarding a further subject regarding the circular light of the Ein Sof, and how the Kav of light, which is a line, emerges from the circular light of the Ein Sof. But before we get to that, I want to finish Ot Bet, which is regarding the extension of the line and the way that the sages, meaning the Arizal and Rav Ashlag, want us to understand the extension of the line from Ein Sof. We left off speaking about how Nekudayim Sayit was actually contracted from the light of Ein Sof, meaning that she is unable to feel the light of Ein Sof after the tsimsum, but that doesn't mean that the light disappears, because the light is always there, but she is simply now unable to feel it or recognize it because of this concealment that has occurred. So the tsimsum caused a concealment in the perception of light from the vessel's point of view. It's from the vessel's point of view that there is darkness. From the light's point of view, it goes without saying that there is no darkness, because light is light, not darkness. But from the vessel's point of view, meaning from the recipient point of view, it is the recipient who is subject to change in their perception. One day we feel the light, another day we don't feel the light. Sometimes we can see it, sometimes it's hard to see. But nevertheless, the light itself never changes. God never changes. Hashem is true whether or not you recognize him. The light is there whether or not you can see. So we're dealing with these two different modalities. On the one hand, the light is always there. But on the other hand, that doesn't necessarily mean that I can see it, because it depends on the vessel's perception to be corrected as to whether I will be able to see it or not. So even though the light never stops shining, even for a moment, nevertheless, the vessel no longer receives anything from the shine of the Or Ein Sof after tsimsum, after the contraction. Why? Mishum shemita et atzma, because she diminished herself. The tsimsum was a choice that the Nekudayim Sayit, the Bechinat Daled Shel Ein Sof, the Malchut Shel Ein Sof, decided to do. It was not forced upon her, but rather she chose to restrict her own desire to receive for the sake of creating more similarity in form with the upper light, because the upper light has zero desire to receive. So in order for this Nekudayim Sayit, this Malchut of Ein Sof, to become closer, to become even more united with the light of Ein Sof, she has to transform her inherent desire to receive into one of giving. Dehainu, shemita et haratzon lekabel sheba. In other words, she diminished her desire to receive. The tsimsum was when the Malchut of Ein Sof, or otherwise called Nekudayim Sayit, chose to diminish her desire to receive. Dehainu shelo lekabel bebechina dalid shehi Nekudayim Sayit mamash. In order that she not receive in Bechina Dalid. Bechina Dalid, as we know, is phase 4, which is corresponding to Malchut. So within the Malchut of Ein Sof, there are 4 phases, and the 4th phase, which is Bechina Dalid, is the Nekudayim Sayit itself. It's the very desire to receive that is contained within the Malchut of Ein Sof. And the tsimsum was performed upon the Bechina Dalid of the Malchut of Ein Sof, meaning the Malchut of the Malchut of Ein Sof, which is that specific aspect within the Malchut of Ein Sof that actually receives the light. It was upon the vessel, it was upon the receiving vessel that the tsimsum occurred. So by restricting the Bechina Dalid, she is no longer able to receive it in the Bechina Dalid. The light departs from the vessel of reception, the Kli Kabbalah of the Malchut of Ein Sof. However, she is still able to receive the light in the preceding 3 phases, Bechina Aleph, Bechina Bet, and Bechina Gimel. Why? Sheharatzon lekabel kalush bahem, because the desire to receive is weak in those preceding 3 phases, being Bechina Aleph, Bechina Bet, and Bechina Gimel. Veharatzon lehashpia sholet sham yoter, and the desire to give dominates there much more. In other words, Bechina Aleph, Bet, and Gimel have less of a desire to receive, more of a desire to give, which is more similar to the light than Bechina Dalid, which only has the desire to receive and 0 of the desire to give. So since Bechina Dalid has 0 of the desire to give, and it only knows how to receive, she is completely and utterly unfit to receive the light of Ein Sof, because that means that it's being received for selfish reasons. It's being received as a dead end. It's receiving for the sake of receiving. So it was specifically upon the Bechina Dalid that the tsimsum occurred, so as to say that we are not going to be receiving this light any longer unless it is for the sake of giving, which Bechina Dalid doesn't know how to do. So for the time being, Bechina Dalid is now restricted and unable to receive the light. However, the first 3 phases, being Bechina Aleph, Bet, and Gimel, are still fit to receive the light because they do know how to give. They are more used to giving than receiving. That's the nature of the preceding 3 phases. באופן שהאור העליון לא נתפעל כלל מן הצמצום. In such a way that the Or Elyon, the supreme light, is not affected in any manner whatsoever by the tsimsum. The tsimsum does not affect or impact the light. ולא שינה דרכו חס ושלום. And it doesn't change the nature of the light in any manner, or the pathway of the light. אלא ממש כמו שמאיר באין סוף ברוך הוא, כן מאיר גם בעת הצמצום ולאחר הצמצום. Rather, the same way that the light shines before the tsimsum, so too it shines at the moment of the tsimsum and even after the tsimsum, just as it did in the Ein Sof, may he be blessed. So the tsimsum does not affect the nature of the light, which is to constantly shine, to give, to illuminate, to spread. Ken me'ir gam be'et tzimsum. So too the light spreads and shines at the moment of the tzimsum, ve'la'acher tzimsum, and even after the tzimsum. Ve'bekol ha'olamot kulam. And in all of the worlds, in every single of the olamot, the light shines. Ve'afilu be'olam asiyah, even the world of asiyah, which is the world of action, the physical world. Bli shum hefsek afilu lerega, without any moment of pause, or what we would say interruption. There is 0 interruption in the shining of the upper light, even for a moment. אלא הכלים בעצמם עושים את כל השינויים הללו. However, the vessels make all of these differences themselves. כי אינם מקבלים אלא לפי מידתם. Because they only receive according to their capacity, according to their measurement of how much they are able to receive. דהיינו מידת הרצון לקבל שבהם כמבואר, meaning their desire to receive, as we've explained. So the vessels can only receive as much light as they have the storage to receive. If the storage of a vessel is only 8 ounces, then they are only able to receive 8 ounces of light. Yes, but there's so much more light. There's an infinite amount of light. Yes, but this vessel only has 8 ounce storage. So despite there being an infinite amount of light, based on my limited capacity to receive, I am only able to appreciate and receive a certain amount. So it is not the light's fault that I am unable to receive the totality of what God wants to give me. It is my limited capacity, it is my finitude that limits my experience, not God. And from what we have explained, you shall understand the following. Asher ma shekatuv harav himshich min or Ein Sof kav echad. Whenever the Arizal says that a singular line of light extends from the Ein Sof. From what we've explained above, we can now understand the words of the Arizal that a singular line of light extends from the Ein Sof. Perusho, asher makom hachalal be'atzmo, דהיינו הכלי שנתרוקן מאור אין סוף, הנה הוא עצמו גרם להמשכת הקו מאור אין סוף. This means that it is the very place of the halal, the void itself, meaning the vessel that was emptied from the light of Ein Sof, that causes the extension of the line from the Or Ein Sof. It is the very empty vessel that remains after the tsimsum that pulls the kav from the Or Ein Sof. Because we should know this by now, that after the tsimsum, the kli, as we just explained, the Bechina Dalid remains empty of light, because the tsimsum caused the departure of the light from Bechina Dalid, which is the kli Kabbalah, the vessel of reception. And it is that very empty vessel that remains after the tsimsum that pulls the kav of light from the Or Ein Sof. Something that did not exist before. A limited form of reception of light, as opposed to what she had before, which was a limitless amount of light. Before the tsimsum, the Malchut of Ein Sof was fulfilled by the Or Ein Sof, the infinite light. There wasn't even a single space within the entire vessel that was empty or vacant or lacking some sort of illumination. Before the tsimsum, the light filled everything completely and evenly. But after the tsimsum, that the light was removed, and now the vessel pulls a line of light, the light that she receives is not enough to fulfill the vast storage that she has. She has the capacity to receive infinite. Even after the light leaves, the vacancy that remains is an infinite vacancy. It's an infinite amount of space that is now empty. But nevertheless, she pulls only a line, only a limited form of reception. Misibat hamiyut shenitchadesh beratzon lekabel shebo. Why? Why is it that she's now only receiving a limited form called kav? Because she diminished her ratzon lekabel. She placed a restriction, a contraction upon her own desire to receive. כי שיעור מידת קבלתו עתה מאחר צמצום הבחינה ד' שלו מכונה בשם קו. Because the amount of her reception now, after the tzimsum of her Bechina Dalid, is called by the name Kav. The amount of what she is now able to receive after the tzimsum is called Kav. So here, Rav Ashlag is explaining that the word Kav is really a unit of measurement. It's a unit of measurement of what the kli that has been emptied, the vessel that has been emptied from the light, is able to receive. How much is this vessel now able to receive? Kav. The amount of a kav. דהיינו בערך קבלתו הקודמות בבחינת ד' שמילא את המקום כולו. It's only a line in relationship to the light that she had before, which was without measurement and without limitation. Because the light that she had before completely fulfilled the space of the vessel completely. So in relationship to what she had before, her reception is now regarded as being a limited reception called a kav. אבל עתה, שאין לה הרצון הקודמות. So therefore, now that she does not have her previous desire, now she does not have that same amount of ratzon, אשר הרצון אלא רק ג' בחינות הרצון הקודמות, but she only has the preceding three phases, בחינה א', ב', and ג', phase 1, 2, and 3, נבחן כמו שהכלי ההוא אינו מקבל יותר מאור אינסוף אלא קו אחד של אור. It is regarded as if the vessel only receives a kav, because Bechana Aleph, Bet, and Gimel are only capable of receiving a smaller measurement of light compared to Bechana Dalet. Bechana Dalet is the one with the desire to receive, the one that has the ability to pull Ein Sof, the light of Ein Sof. Bechana Dalet has the capacity to receive or Ein Sof, the complete infinite light. So now that she's been restricted, now only Bechana Aleph, Bet, and Gimel are able to receive, and the amount that they're able to receive is compared to a line in relationship to what Bechana Dalet is able to pull. וכל מקום הכלי נשאר ריק ופנוי מהאור. And the entirety of Bechana Dalet, the entire space of the vessel, remains empty of light. כי אין האור הדק הזה שמקבל עתה מפסיק למלות כל מקומו של הכלי. Because the amount of light that she now receives is not enough to fulfill her great desire or her great storage that Bechana Dalet has. שזה עולה לו מחמת חיסרון דבחינה ד' שמיתה אותו כנזכור לעיל. And this is because of the restriction that was placed upon the Bechana Dalet of this Malchut of Ein Sof. So because the Bechana Dalet is restricted, she remains empty, but the first three phases are still able to receive a line of light. ונתבאר אשר האור העליון לא נפסק כלל מסיבת הצמצום. And it has already been explained that the upper light, the light of Ein Sof, does not stop or pause at all because of the tsimsum. It continues to shine. וכן לא נשתנה כלל שימשיך האור בבחינת קו אחד. And so too, now that this kav has extended from the Or Ein Sof to fulfill the space of Bechana Aleph, Bechana Bet, and Bechana Gimel, this does not change at all the light as well. The light does not change because of this extension of the line either. לא נפסק כלל מסיבת הצמצום וכן לא נשתנה. So too, it's saying that the upper light does not change at all because of the extension of the line in the aspect of a kav. Kav echad. A single line. אלא כל השינוי הגדול היה נעשה בסיבת כלי הקבלה שנטמעתו. The entire change is from the vessel's point of view. This kav is being received by the vessel's point of view. Because of the kli Kabbalah, because of the vessel of reception that was diminished. It is all because of the diminishment of the Bechana Dalet that the kav now appears that the light now appears in the limited form of a kav. אשר עתה לא יוכלו לקבל מאור אין סוף אלא שיעור קטן מאוד הנקרא קו. wherein which now she is not able to receive from the light of Ein Sof other than a singular line of light, a very small measurement of light. Dehainu lefi midat retzono. In other words, she is only able to receive according to the measurement of her desire. Of Bechina Dalet, we know was restricted, but there's still Bechina Aleph, Bet, and Gimel. So they are only able to receive a extremely small amount of light compared to what Bechina Dalet was capable of. Ki lo yirtze yoter mihamida hahi veheben heitev. Because now that the Bechina Dalet has been restricted, she no longer desires more than that measurement. And you should understand this very well. She no longer desires more than a singular kav. That's all she wants. She has restricted her Bechina Dalet. She has understood that it is not going to lead anywhere to just receive with her Bechina Dalet. If she continues to receive with her Bechina Dalet, she's going to remain in Ein Sof, and the creation cannot come into fruition. So she sacrificed her Bechina Dalet. She said, I will not receive in Bechina Dalet. And she, in turn, sacrificed the light that she would have otherwise received, that she otherwise did receive before the tsimsum. She said no to the light that she so desperately desired, in order to create more similarity of form with the Ein Sof, which is her desire, which is her deeper desire, deeper than what she wants to receive, is what she wants to give. And she came to that realization. She actually did come to this realization on her own. It was a conscious decision that the Bechina Dalet chose to perform in restricting this deepest and greatest level of desire called Bechina Dalet, which is the definition of the tsimsum. So that concludes Ot Bet of this Inyan, of Perek Bet, Inyan Aleph, Ot Bet. In the next class, we're going to continue with Ot Gimel. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.